Hi, I'm Drew Santos, a junior at Clemson University. This presentation is for my marketing research class and looks into the booking of vacation excursions. More specifically, if travelers would be open to booking these excursions in advance using a website they book hotels or flights on. I hope you enjoy. So why excursions? Any vacation is much more than just traveling to a new spot. The memories you keep forever are most often made when going out and truly experiencing that location through excursions. TripAdvisor has recently shifted more of their focus to excursions, and I wanted to explore what would make people book more than just flights and hotels through TripAdvisor. Many different factors play a role in what might make people decide to book their excursions in advance with TripAdvisor. The two main categories I focused on were people's preference on how they choose an excursion or a vacation spot, and then their own unique personality traits that may play a role as well. When looking at how people choose an excursion or vacation spot, the first question I asked was based on if they value local recommendations. The thinking behind this was if they put a lot of value in local opinions, they may not be as likely to book in advance. My next question looked at if people choose a vacation spot based on the available excursions in that location to get a grasp on how important excursions were to them overall while traveling. My last item in the realm of how people choose was exploring if they would even be comfortable with booking excursions through the same website as you would book your flights or hotels through. For my measures on personality traits, I chose 3 different factors that I believe would play a role. The first was being a planner. I hypothesized that planners would be much more likely to use a feature like TripAdvisor's to choose and book their excursions ahead of time. On the flip side, I asked about being spontaneous and hypothesized that they would be less likely. Finally, I simply looked at if they enjoy excursions. This would give a sense on if being a big fan of excursions would make you more or less inclined to use a service like TripAdvisor's, or if it was even appealing to those people. My survey was designed and built on Qualtrics. All of my measures were 7-point Likert scales with the intro. Please indicate the extent to which you agree with the following statement, followed by a statement on one of the factors I just discussed. Below is a screenshot of the first measure, which was if they value local resident recommendations. This question was used as my dependent variable. Again, it is a 7-point Likert scale, but I inserted a screenshot of TripAdvisor's experiences page where you would search for and book excursions. Then they indicated how much they agreed or disagreed with the statement. I would use this website to book my vacation excursions in advance. To get my participants, I used Amazon's Mechanical Turk program. I was able to specify additional qualifications for participants in MTurk, so I added vacation frequency every quarter as one. This gave me confidence that my sample would be experienced travelers who go through the booking process relatively often. After pulling the data from Qualtrics into Excel and running a regression analysis, my first impression was that the variables were not great predictors of whether or not somebody would be willing to book in advance with TripAdvisor. The R-square and adjusted R-square values were 0.22 and 0.08 respectively, meaning that not much of the variance in my DV can be explained by my predictors. The low R-square values are a result of many of my predictor variable P-values being too high. For the local recommendation measure, the p-value is 0.85. Spontaneousness was 0.49. Choosing a location based on excursions was 0.75. And enjoying excursions was 0.54. Looking more specifically into the regression output at the p-values, only one of my predictors passed the p-value test of less than 0.05, and that was the measure on if the participant is a planner. To put it simply, the effects of all my other predictors could be due to chance alone. The next closest measure I had to being acceptable by the 0.05 p-value threshold was would you be comfortable booking your excursion through the same site as you booked your flights or hotels through. While it was closer than the others, its p-value of 0.253 indicates that there is a 25% chance that this result is due to chance alone, which cannot be accepted as reliable. Here's a scatter plot of my regression, which shows that there is really no linear correlation between my predictors and my dependent variable. There's no clear positive or negative trend, which illustrates why the p-values told us that these were not reliable measures. Obviously, I was surprised to see such poor results in terms of how well my measures predicted willingness to book excursions with TripAdvisor. Specifically, the measure on if the participant was a spontaneous person. Intuition told me that spontaneous people would be much less willing to book excursions in advance, but instead opt for getting to their location, feeling it out, and then deciding on the excursion. While there was a negative effect size, meaning an inverse relationship, as I hypothesized, the p-value told us that this simply isn't a reliable predictor and therefore can't be trusted to make important decisions with. The key takeaway from my survey would be that TripAdvisor should target planners or people who prefer to plan in advance as a key group to help boost their excursion bookings. Not only was it the only predictor variable with an acceptable p-value of 0.01 and a pretty large effect size of 0.367, it makes sense looking at it from a qualitative standpoint as well. These people want their vacation plans set in stone so that there are no surprises when they get to their location of choice. Planners would likely be the group to book travel arrangements further in advance than most, and TripAdvisor can see that. So when they get a reservation from a planner, I would recommend that they send them recommendations and other excursion marketing immediately to help them in planning ahead. Finally, I would just like to thank my marketing research professor, Mike Giebelhausen, for all the hard work he has put in for us as his students and for all the knowledge he has given us. Rarely, if ever, does a professor mix true education of real-world application with a fun but effective learning environment? He has done that and more. So thanks again, Professor G, and thank you all for watching.